there, YouTube. This is SwOwl, and we're back with another Phasmophobia tutorial. This time, we're going to discuss the most important aspect of the game, and I believe the reason why this game is as good as it is because of custom difficulties. I want to go over how to set up a custom difficulty and show you what that is, because being able to customize the game to how you want to play is what's going to make you comfortable and make you allow to play the game how you want to play it. If you want more evidence or less evidence, it's fully up to you. You can change all of these things in the custom settings, and that allows you to really enjoy the game, because if you don't want the jump scares, you can set them to a minimal. If you don't want the hunts, you can turn them off to the point that if you don't want to progress in the game, but still, you can turn them off, and I'll go over all that with you here real quick. Going to single player. This is the difficulty. As you can see, I have a custom set. We're going to click that button and bring ourselves into my custom 3 here. As you can see, it's in gold, and when I hover over it, it tells me why it's written in gold. It's because evidence given is 3. I like having all 3 types of evidence, and any additional reward multipliers above ×4 will only add half of their value. So we have a nightmare difficulty with all different types of evidence. If you look over here on nightmare, normal nightmare setting at ×4, we have ghosts will hide 1 type of evidence, which means you only have 2 different types of evidence, and the kills increase hunt duration, which I absolutely hate, and almost no hiding spaces. Now, I'm good. This custom that I'm playing is ×4, and it fixes all of those things, but at the cost of other things. If you're wondering what this little dice is, it's random. That's what it is. I'll show you on this one. You click it, and it even asks you, are you sure? Yeah, sure, let's randomize. And I've got 0. Sprinting equals infinite. This is kind of one of those like silly things that if you just want to set the settings to a random thing and then play it to see how hard it is to challenge yourself, that's all that really is. The actual pencil is what we're going to click on, and I'm going to show you my custom and why I have my settings. Let's click this, and there are 3 different tabs: player, ghost, contract. Under player, we start with full sanity. I don't know why you would change that. I mean, unless you wanted to hunt instantly, there's no reason to change that. Sanity Pill restoration. 25 is good for me. You get 4 pills. 25 at 4 pills means that I can take myself from 0 back to 100 if I'm playing solo. You can adjust this. You can even like take it all the way up to 100, but as you can see, it destroys our multiplier. Our multiplier is completely gone by. And what is the multiplier? I have been talking about that without actually discussing it. The reward multiplier is literally what it says. It's what your rewards are times at the end of the investigation. At a ×4 multiplier, when I do a perfect investigation, I usually earn $1,700. If I drop that to ×3, I usually make 1,300. So it's an extra $400 having it from ×3 to ×4. And the higher you get it, the more, money you're going to get. Money is everything, because it's what buys your gear and it's what advances you in the game. This is where the real challenge comes in my custom difficulty. Well, the second thing that comes as a challenge in mine, there's 2 or 3 things. I have max sanity drain. So the longer you're in the dark, the more your sanity is going to drain. Even at this level, if I mess up and get a bad cursed object, like the cards that give me the sun and makes my sanity full, it still takes me like a full 5 minutes just standing around in the dark in a closet waiting for my sanity to tank if I want to get to 0. So this will teach you to not stand in the dark and to stay in the light. Keep the fuse box on, keep the light on, unless you absolutely have to have it off for looking for Gorbs or doing spirit box. But for the most part, I set this all the way to max because it's what's going to give us our rewards. Sprinting, I like to have on. Who doesn't like to sprint? Player speed. I love to turn this up whenever I'm doing a challenge. I'll take the full point loss to go to ×3 just to have this increased speed. If I'm doing something like the 50 per camp or the 50 per lighthouse or the 50 for the restricted asylum, I will 100% take the, money loss just to be able to be faster. This is one of those things you want to adjust based on what you're doing challenge wise. But at a base, we keep it at where it's at for the times 4. Flashlights on. Always keep this on. I know you're thinking, oh, well, I don't use the flashlights that often. I could probably turn it off. No, it affects other things than flashlights, like your UV. And I think it even affects your dots, at least the tier 1 for sure. But it's not worth turning off because it's, 5 points? 10 points because it's being cut in half. But keep it on. Lose items and consumables. You can set this to 0 or on and off, but it removes your rewards because it takes out the penalty for death. You wouldn't have to pay anything and you wouldn't lose any money, but you also can't make money because there's no penalty for death. So this has to be on. And it's really something that you just want to leave on anyways. The only reason to shut this off is if you're just messing around and you want to film the ghost eating you a bunch of times without having to take any loss to your money. There's really no reason to turn this off other than that. But that finishes the player tab. Let's go to the ghost tab. Ghost speed. I have very strong opinions about this one. I hate adjusting this because so much goes into figuring out the ghost during a hunt based on its movement speed. It's literally what will allow you to tell if it's a slow twin, a fast twin, if it's a Hantu, if it's a Raiju, if it's various different types of ghosts. They're all affected by their movement speed, and adjusting this can make that more difficult. And I really feel like it shouldn't be a toggle, but it's in there. And if you really want to scare the crap out of yourself, set it to 150 and have a Hantu tear at you in its freezing room. It'll put the jump scare back in the game, trust me. Roaming frequency. This, for what you get point-wise, because it's a 0.1 adjustment, this will really screw you. If I could put this on low, I would, but putting it on medium is where I have to live. It is hard to hold an investigation and figure out evidence if the ghost is running in and out of its room a bunch of times. You need it to be in its room in order for it to interact with its items. So we keep it on medium for where it's at. I would never put it on high unless I just wanted to screw myself. Changing favorite room. This is actually kind of dangerous putting it on none because one of the tells for the Goryo ghost type is that it will never change favorite rooms. The thing is setting this to none, I've thrown that tell completely out of the game because none of the ghosts can change their favorite room. That being said, I hate having to move all of my investigation items from one room to another room. So I set it to none. You could probably up it, but again, this is why this is so important. You can adjust it to how you want to adjust it based on your gameplay. I'm just showing you what I set it to and why it's so important. Activity level, medium. This is how often the ghost interacts with objects, like the writing book or doing dots. You never want to set this to low. It will screw you. If I could set it to high, I would set it to high just so I could have the ghost throwing stuffs to give EMF and writing in the book instantly. Medium's been pretty good to me. I will stick with medium. Event frequency, I have it set to low. This is the jump scares. The danger with this is that there is often an objective called getting a ghost event. And most of the time, I can't get that objective because this is set to low. And the ghost usually doesn't want to do a ghost event. So you can't completely turn off the jump scares, but if you don't like the jump scares and you're just here for the investigation like me, you can set this to low. Just know that it's going to make that one optional objective really hard to get. Friendly ghost. This also, it's either on or off. If you turn this on, the ghost can't hunt. It can't hunt, so it can't hurt you. It can't do anything to you. And this is a good setting for one reason and one reason only. Turn this on, turn the breaker on, and walk around to figure out the map. If you ever want to get the lay of the land and just see the map in the light so that you can familiarize it, you'll see in my videos, even with the gamma, it's really dark. I am playing basically in pitch black darkness. I just know where I'm going because I've learned the map. I literally know where there's obstacles and what to avoid and what walls to use to walk along so that I can find my way through the place. And even with the amount of time that I've played in the game, I still occasionally miss like my turn in the dark. So this is a great way if you ever want to just walk around the map and see it in all of its glory and figure it out. This is really good, especially if you're going to do the Apocalypse Challenge. Turn this on and walk around Asylum so that you can figure out where you're going and what it looks like. That way you have an idea in your mind. But otherwise, you want this off because you won't get any rewards. This is the real danger. This, I wish that I could put this at 1 second, but it literally takes half a point away. This is the grace period. What this means is before the ghost hunts, it will flicker lights and it will make a sound like ah, and it will let you know that the ghost is about to hunt. With this 0% grace period, the ghost can spawn in me for its hunt and instantly kill me. This setting screws me in, I would say, about 1 in 100 games. 1 in 100 games, I will be doing something and I will be away from the crucifix, or someone will not have placed the crucifix and go run and do bunnies and get a golden bunny instantly as the first bunny. You know who you are. But yeah, this setting is honestly what screws me, and I wish that I could put it at 1. But even at 0 just means that you need to have the crucifixes in your ghost room because we have the ghost room set to not change it. So putting the crucifixes down, only certain ghosts can still hunt. I think twins have their weird glitch where they can teleport, start a hunt in a different place and then teleport to the room, as well as there is the trio, the Phantom, the Wraith, and the Banshee all roam or teleport around the map, so they have a chance of hunting. But you get the idea. This is a dangerous one. We have it set to where it's set because of our rewards. Hunt duration. You can lower this if you want it to be a shorter hunt, but I set this to high because setting it to low, it doesn't hunt long enough for you to figure out anything. You can figure out tells from the hunt, and having it on high actually is kind of a good thing because it allows you to listen to its movement to get a better look at it, but it also, you know, stays hunting for longer, so it's more dangerous. This again, it's all up to you. Kills extend hunt, always off. Always off. Adjusting this doesn't actually adjust your modifier or do anything. I don't know why you would have this on, ever. It should get its kill and then it should stop hunting. I don't know why you would ever turn this on unless you just wanted to murk your entire party. No thanks. Evidence given. As you can see, it even has like the thing on the side here letting us know why we can't get any more rewards, and that's because we have all 3 types of evidence. We could turn it down. Most of the time, like 90% of the time, I don't need all 3 types of evidence, but I like figuring out what that ghost is the other 10% of the time. I like having a definitive all 3 evidence. So again, it's all in how you want to play it. At the end of the day, you're still just trying to figure out the ghost type, but you can do that how you want. Like how you get there, fully on you. Fingerprint chance, 100%. I want to know that if it touches something, it's going to leave its fingerprints. If it's supposed to leave its fingerprints and it doesn't, that instantly tells me it's the Obaki, which is my favorite ghost because of this setting. This, you definitely want to keep this up to 100%. I don't know why you would adjust this down unless you just didn't. Unless you weren't going to have evidence, then you could tank this to get some extra points, but there's no point otherwise. Fingerprint duration. A full minute is more than long enough. I would drop it, but like we don't get any points for dropping it a full 30 seconds. You can up it, but it'll screw you by taking you out of that ×4. You want that ×4 threshold. You need that for a lot of the dailies for various different aspects of the game. Having that ×4, this is what puts you into it and covering that threshold. And a full minute is a long enough time that you could probably run out to the van, grab UV, and run back in and still get fingerprints most of the time, unless it's a really large map. Which, again, never would happen. I always go in with fingerprint UV just because of this setting. But that finishes Ghost. Let's look at Contract real quick. Setup time. This is training wheels. That's really what this is. Like, you can turn this up, but look at that. It completely obliterates your award. You don't want to have a setup time. There's no point to having a setup time other than to find the ghost room and set a crucifix in it so that a demon doesn't get you. That's literally the only reason to have a setup time. There's no point outside of that. Weather, I set it to snow, but that's really painful if you're an outside map like camp, because then it's snowing and you have to contend with the snow to figure out if the ghost orbs are like floating upward in the snow to see where it is. That's what makes this setting so difficult. I don't do outside map. I usually do Tanglewood, which the great thing about snow is that it sets the baseline at 5 degrees, so you get freezing faster. It doesn't have to drop as, slowly to get to where it needs to be for freezing. So if it's going to get freezing, I'll know if it's going to get freezing within like 1 or 2 or 3 minutes because it's already so low. Another good one, heavy rain is the worst one. It gives you the highest multiplier. It's terrible because it messes with your EMF and it messes with your parabolic. But if you really want the worst one, you can do that. Windy's a good one. Clear is the best one, and obviously it doesn't give you any multiplier. It doesn't affect it in any way. It gives you a baseline. It gives of like 10 degrees, I think. So it's not bad. Fog messes with visibility. Sunrise is a really good one. I like sunrise actually the best. Sunrise is the best because it actually kind of lights up the map if there's windows and whatnot. So it gives more visibility. Sunrise is the best one. I take that back. Windy's a really good one. It only messes with you if you're trying to do parabolic. Like, it'll cause the wind to howl, and it sets it to, I think, 9 degrees at a baseline. So Windy's a really good one, especially like if you're gonna switch it from snow to doing camp, I would switch it to windy, so that way you don't have to contend with the gorbs, but at the same time you don't have, like, you'll get screwed if you have to do parabolic, which who cares? It's parabolic. Doors starting open. I set this to high. This is only really useful if it's a large map. If it's something like Asylum or High School, you can set this to none, and then if any door is open, that's where the ghost is. So I set it to high for the multiplier. I don't use the doors being shut to figure out where it is. Number of hiding spaces, high. You can set this to very high. That's all. This is most. Actually, I would say it's about 60%. Usually, I usually have, like, on Tanglewood, I think there's 4 or 5 hiding spots, and I usually have 3 out of the 5. So medium, low, and then there's none. None is only if you're, like, at expert level. I like having hiding spaces. I like having lockers. I like having closets. Sanity monitor on. I like knowing what my sanity's at. This is a good one. Have it on, for the love of God. Activity monitor on. You can, if you're doing the apocalypse challenge, you can set it to heavy rain, and then you can turn this on. And having this on will give you the chance of figuring out if it's going to do some kind of like heavy EMF. Having this on is actually what earned me my silver apocalypse badge. It did a jump from 0 to 7, and that told me that it did its ghost ability, which means that it like teleported, or it did a Pulte explosion. I literally went in and saw it hunting, and I saw it throwing stuff like crazy, and I instantly knew. I was like, it did a Pulte explosion. This is a poltergeist. I knew what the ghost was because this was on. This is a really good thing to have on, and it allows you to get evidence outside of the map. So, fuse box at start of contract. Never turn this to broken. I don't know why you would turn that to broken. It's not worth the points. It's just not worth the points. I usually keep it on off, because we have the fuse box visible on the map, so I can see where it is. And running to this, when you open the front door, the ghost room at that point will start cooling off. It doesn't start cold. It has to have time to cool off, and running to the fuse box and turning it on gives it that time for the ghost room to start cooling off, so that you can see that difference in the temperatures when you're checking temperatures to figure out where the ghost room is. So if this is on, this should be off. Simply put. Cursed possession quantity. I usually have 1, and this is just in there so that I can tank my sanity or possibly force the ghost to hunt. I always set it to random because if you try to set it to something specific, it will obliterate your awards. It's not worth it to set it to anything. Just put it on random and hope that you don't get something that sucks. Aside from that, though, we've come to the end, and let me show you the most important button here. The most important button in your customs is this floppy disk, which at this day and age, people probably don't know is a floppy disk. This was the original floppy disk. You're going to click it in order to save your adjustments. If you don't save, all of your progress will be lost. All of your settings will be lost. Yes, save your progress. The love of God. You also can set it. See how it's saved? I can go over here, though, and I can adjust my player speed to ×3, hit apply, and now it's going to be at that ×3, but the next time I log in, it will switch back to where it was last saved because I didn't save. So keep that in mind. Aside from that, though, I think we've covered everything. If you've made it this far, please, for the love of God, give me a like. My small channel needs all the love it can possibly get. And if you want more content, more tutorials like this, consider giving me a subscribe. You know, maybe subscribe. Anyways, I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.